Oh, me too. I literally just said that.
All right, let's get it going.
Alright, I forgot how to do it.
You're welcome. I wasn't talking to you.
I was. Okay, so questions around the board. Can we go over the question that asked the number of outcomes? Is that
Homework.
that was from the check your understanding or from the homework?
Homework.
Okay.
No, yeah.
I need a class code
Yeah, that's
for or for AP
AP
Classroom. Did they not give you one already? Am I supposed to do that?
I think you had to.
Did you not
Okay,
get one?
I'll pull it up. I'll look for it. I thought they gave that to you.
No.
How do I tell the difference between a convenience and a subjective sample? That's what we're going to talk. No, we did already talk about that some. I'll get that. Okay, we talked about that Friday. We'll talk about it again. Do we have time to discuss 1.1 homework, especially random? When it says random digit, do you mean random
Number
digit
6
table?
in homework.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll pull that up. Are those the only questions I got put up? Okay. All right. So let's look at that homework question first. Was it an 8? Was the...
You want me to?
Can we take a calculator home? The answer is yes, but don't lose it. Just let me know so I can write name down to make sure that I know you have it. I will also show you how to use Desmos to do a lot of our stat stuff.
Oh, and
Can we go over to the question? Number of outcomes you said was from, it was not from the check your understanding, right?
No, sir.
That's from the actual homework. So let's pull that up.
Was that required?
So 4.1 homework.
did you log in? I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do
76 plus 6, 7.
Really quickly, I do want to point out, guys, describe a method for taking a simple random sample using names in a hat. Just scratch that out. I don't care about that. Okay? This question about the random digit table, scratch it out. Just use technology. We live in the 21st century. I don't understand why people still make things complicated. Okay.
That's when I was confused.
Okay, so that one, just do it with a calculator.
God bless.
Right? Now, I will point out, and I will remind you, this says describe how to select a simple random sample using the given table. What's the 3 things we talked about last Friday that you have to have if they ask for describing how to select a
You
sample?
need to give a unique identifier.
So you got to label each individual with a unique identifier.
Select in amount of.
So generate in number of unique numbers using a random number generator,
Select
and then select. So label, generate, select is the big thing. I know you're gonna have to, this is what I will say, you need to do these practice assignments, check your answers, but I would just use a calculator instead of the table. I think, Andrew, were you the one asking about if the homework is mandatory? Or was someone else asking? So here's the thing, for me, homework is a learning opportunity, okay? If you feel like you've mastered it or you understand it without doing the homework, like Jaden Dow, the crazy dude that he is, then you can do that, right? Peter Serena did, I think, every homework assignment last year because they wanted to make sure they practice it. So these homework assignments that, which I didn't print this out for you, I just printed out the task. The homework assignments are optional for you to practice and master content. That's why these solutions are already where?
On Schoology.
They're already on Schoology. So that's the idea, is that you can check yourself on Schoology. And then if you still have a question, it doesn't make sense, then you can come in and ask those questions, okay? What was the question that asked about the number of outcomes though?
Oh, no, that was the one for number 6.
Oh, that was that one? Okay. I got you. Especially the random digit table, same thing. Okay.
Scratch it out.
So yeah, don't worry about random digit table. You don't, it doesn't show up as a mandatory thing on the AP exam. Use a calculator.
Yep.
Again, 21st century. Okay. From there, agenda, textbooks. Textbook for everybody. Unfortunately, I will say this, they did not order as many as I asked for last year, and so I don't have an updated edition for everyone, but Mr. Hinton is about to order more so that we can have an updated edition for everybody. But I have a textbook for everybody. So, come grab, first come, first serve. These are the new textbooks, these are the best.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
In the back.
Are we supposed to be around all the time? Oh, heck no.
Last come, last serve. Two?
Why is Ian have to?
Whoever needs to start.
And then here's,
Beginning. Why are you not going?
wow, yeah. Here's the,
That's the first one.
someone gets lucky and gets the annotated teacher's edition for
What?
6th edition.
What?
Sorry, I'll train.
What? Hey.
Holy
It's just the textbook. The annotated teacher's edition is not going to help you a ton because we're not using that for practice assignments, things like that. I like the 7th edition better.
Take these
It's the one.
home.
Yes. So these textbooks, for your sake, do not bring that textbook to this classroom
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
because that is a lot of space in your backpack and it's heavy. Okay.
Leave it at home.
Leave it at home unless you are doing the, so if you remember I gave you those Frere models for this unit where the design behind that is, yes, you can use your notes from in class, but what I actually want you to do is I want you to go through the textbook making notes. So I made those Frere models based off of the big ideas I saw in the textbook, okay? Now, can I see the 7th edition real quick? So the 7th edition, if you remember, I made the note that this is for us Unit 1, but it is according to the AP exam Unit 3. So Unit 3 in the AP, or the textbook, is collecting data. This is where you want to look to get information. This is to help you understand how to use the textbook. Now, the Frere models you will turn in every time we have a quiz so I can give you feedback if there's anything you're missing. One of the big things I want you to pay attention to is if everybody could go, so first off, everybody, if you don't have this book, don't look, I'll show you how to look in a second. But go to page 241. You can actually look on any page, I guess, even if you have the old version, it'll still have information. But on page 241, what is inside those green boxes?
Definition.
Definitions, vocabulary. Vocabulary is really, really important for statistics because some words that you're used to using in everyday language is not how we use it in AP Stats, okay? So pay attention to these definitions, and then they write more to explain it, so pay attention to those things. The other thing I want to point out is, did I miss one? Looking for a page with what I need. Okay, pay attention to anything that's boxed, literally. How to choose an SRS using technology, simple random sample. Same steps, right? 250. So they use label randomize select. I do label generate select. Same thing though. That's on page 250. Look at page 252. This is something I especially want you to pay attention to. What's on page 252 that you might want to note?
AP exam tips.
AP exam tips. Guys, the person who wrote our textbook, his name is Josh Tabor, and then Darren Starnes. They have been chief readers for the AP Stats exam. These guys know what's up on the AP exam. So pay attention to their exam tips. Those are things you definitively need to put on your Frere models. The idea of the Frere models is, again, we're making a 1 to 2 page summary of the entire unit as we're building up to the end of the course so that you have study materials. Okay? So, pay attention to your AP exam tips and read through the textbook. And yeah, and you will submit those Frere models as said on the day of a quiz. It will be a minor grade, and but the bigger thing is I'll give you feedback, and I'll say this. Those Frere models, you're going to stress out and be like, Mr. Keeney, I want to make sure I have everything perfect. No. The Frere model, as long as you genuinely attempt the Frere model, and I can tell because if you've taken it from the book or not and read through the book, you're going to get 100. It is so that I can give you feedback on things you may be forgetting or things that I need to correct before the end of the unit. That's the priority. So as long as you genuinely attempt those Frere models, you're good. Okay? Just make sure you're learning from it. It'll also help you prepare for those quizzes. Yes, that's the blue Frere model. That was in your packet of stuff that I gave you. Yes, sorry. I think that's all I got right now. Any questions?
So, you said we're gonna do that like before a quiz?
Yeah, so that's something you do on your own time,
Okay.
leading up to a quiz. We'll probably, I need to look to see where we get today, so I'll think about it during lunch. We'll probably have our first, and I call them demonstrate your understandings. We'll probably have our first one Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll see. Okay. But we can only spend about a week to a week and a half probably on this unit.
Count me
Just one
absent.
block. Huh?
Count me absent.
No, be here, learn from it. If you remember, I told y'all last time that, let's say you don't do as well as you want on the quiz, learn from it and do better by the test. You're good.
Oh, wait, there's quizzes.
Well, demonstrate your understandings are like your quizzes.
Oh.
And then there's
So
your test.
is our test like the unit one test?
Yes, this chapter, this unit 3 in the textbook, but yes.
Mm.
That won't be for a few more days after that.
So, would you let us look at unit 3, but we're going towards unit 1, so are you letting us know that what unit that we have to look every time, or?
Yes, I'll tell you which unit it is each time. And I will also say, I need to go back and check, but for the most part, the Frere models follow the order of the textbook. Like, I'm not asking you to randomly jump around. Like, the top left is one of the first things in the textbook you would find. The top right is one of the second things you would find. Bottom left, it's like, it's not a mystery. Just don't write random bullcrap that's not in the textbook. I still remember 2 years ago, and this is from the students who were like, Mr. Kinney, your class is impossible. And I asked about, like, what are the different types of studies, and they talked about freaking longitudinal studies. That's nowhere in the textbook. So, like, why are you talking about that? Oh, because and it was like the same exact wording for like 3 or 4 of the kids. So it was like, yeah, you went to ChatGPT and you Googled, or you Googled it. Like, no, use your textbook, use your resources from class, because I'm telling you what you need to know for the AP exam. The AP exam does not talk about longitudinal studies. Sorry, that's a different thing. All right, we gotta get going. AP Classroom though. So, some of us have never used AP Classroom at all before, but it is really, really useful. I would bookmark it if I were you. So AP Classroom, you can just search for it, and you click on it, and so you sign in, right? So I'm an educator, so I click here, and it asks for username and password. And I'll be honest, if you've never done an AP class, you should already have an account by signing up for an AP class, but I don't fully know. Okay, so you have to go to AP
Yeah.
Classroom and sign
I
up.
have to make my own code.
Okay, so you need to, okay, so that's why you don't have a code, so I'll find the code in a second. But you need to go to College Board, or AP Classroom, find create an account. You know, I should probably put attendance in before they yell at me. Don't let me forget to put attendance, because that's one of the things I'm worst at.
I just need to go.
Alright, he goes through
Hold on.
And Mr. Nice.
Wait, what?
Come on, things that- just do it.
I mean, it's just like, you know, like, you can do like tips and
All right.
definitions that are-
Lorelai's not the only person missing, right?
So like,
But it's somebody else.
Wait, he just wants to like,
There's
look
no-
at it, you know?
We're missing
So
them.
Lorelai's out, no, that's everybody? All right, Leah, Dixie,
Alright.
Andrew, Kenzie, Emerson, Sophie, Ethan, Ian, Star, Anna, Phoebe. Yep, everybody else is here. Cool. All right, so let's see.
So see how fast it
There should be a code somewhere.
It's just for the app.
For our class.
Yeah, before it was, so we can work on that anytime.
No, it's a lot. I think it's like, please record yourself.
Emerson.
We're like throughout the whole school. I'm asking.
Have some decorum.
Okay, how about this? I'm gonna find out during lunch, and I'll give you all the codes then, maybe?
That's awesome.
You see my school?
So I'll do some research and I'll let you know. But I'll find that code. Appreciate it. Yep. Alrighty. So, from there, let's get going. We got stat stuff to learn. Study design. That's what we started last week. Okay? And so we started in looking at categorical versus quantitative.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I'll get to the convenience and subjective in a second. Don't let me forget. What's categorical data?
It can be arranged in a list.
Category.
It can be, you sort it based on categories, right? And so when it's categorical, what type of statistics do we usually use? I told you all about it last week. It starts with a P.
Proportionate.
Proportions, right? In statistics, categories are fitting into proportions. Then we have quantitative. What do I mean by quantitative?
Counting and measuring.
So values that are a result of counting or measuring, so quantities, right?
Quantity.
So counting or measuring. And what do we usually do with quantitative data?
Average.
Average, or in statistics, we call them, yeah. All right, so we started last week on, I hope that, yeah, I started recording. Last week, we just barely touched on the idea of a simple random sample and started on identifying the different types of sampling when given a description. We did talk about, we can talk more about this right now, so I'm going to hold off on that. But mostly we just introduced the idea of a random sample when looking at the Beyonce's Crazy in Love, right? So here we go, here's our data, we're going to come back to this. And so subjective, does anyone, nope, wrong way. Does anyone remember what I meant or said subjective meant?
It's opinion. No, it's opinion.
So it's opinionated, so you get a decision. What were you saying? No? So the researcher picks. That's a great way to say that, right? So when something is objective, there's no decision making, it is what it is, right? We know what it is. Whereas if it is subjective, you get to pick. Now, the question about convenience versus subjective, the reality is, well, here's the dip. Can anyone tell us what a convenient sample is?
It's like if you're in a
Whoa, I got like 5 people talking. Okay, so Ian, I think you started. What were you saying?
A convenient sample is you doing something that's easily accessible to the researcher.
Yeah. So something that is easy, right? Not just subjective. So what you did when you picked 5 words, you made a decision about what 5 words could represent the song. What might have been convenient is if you just picked the first 5 words of the song. Or maybe you just went to a line and picked the first 5 words of that line. That would be something convenient, okay? If you were trying to figure out the average GPA of Hillcrest High School, then subjective would be you going around and choosing who you talk to get their GPAs. Convenience would be just going to the first 10 people or just finding 10 people at lunch. Because that's easy. You find them in lunch, right? But what was the problem with subjective or a convenient sample?
They create
You might have
bias.
It was biased. And what do we mean by bias? Because this is kind of critical. What do we mean by bias, Charlie?
The sample is not represent population.
You cannot forget that. That is critical. Biased samples are samples that do not represent the population, which is problematic because I want to know about the population, right? I want to make a prediction. With airplanes, we wanted to make a prediction about where to put the metal on the planes to protect them. But the sample of planes that came back did not look like the sample of planes that went out, right? That got shot up. When we looked at the M&Ms outside for the bear hunting, which don't let me forget, I need to bring some cups so that y'all can have some of those M&Ms because I have a whole bunch left. But the sample that you collected was not representative of the population because which M&Ms could you not easily see? Brown ones, right? They mixed into the ground. Our sample was biased. And so we wrote some notes here, so this is where we want to recap. What big ideas do we write on our quick notes here? So Andrew, that packet I gave you has this in there. Randomize, say again. Yeah, so we're trying to make a prediction about the population, right? Which, can I just see yours really quickly, just so I can remember? Yeah. Okay, so we just labeled the different types of samples. So we talked about the population, right? And we can get a subjective sample to inform us about the population. Or we could get a, what type of sample?
Volunteer.
Oh, and we're gonna talk about that, but we talked about convenience, right? Sample. We could get a volunteer sample, but all of these sampling methods are considered what?
Bias.
Bias, right? What's the one that we said is not?
Randomized.
Randomization, right? Now, we're gonna talk about a few different types of randomization, but we need a random sample. Randomization reduces bias. Now, hold on to this, I need you to remember this. Are you going to eliminate bias? No. There's no way to eliminate bias. what are you going to do?
Reduce.
Reduce bias. If you write eliminate bias on that AP exam, you are, so the way they score on free response is you can get an E for essentially correct, so not perfect, but essentially correct, a P for partially correct, or an I for incorrect. If you say reduce bias, it doesn't matter how strong the rest of your response is, it's going to drop at a point. So if your response would have been an E, it's now at a P. If it was a P, it's now an I. You cannot eliminate bias, you can only reduce it. Just like here, this sample was not perfect, was it? I think we said it was like 3.8 or so, is what it actually was. So this was somewhat biased. Ours was 4, but that's not the population.
It was like 3.7, 4. I swear it was like 4.01.
So that was when we averaged these values.
Ah.
But the actual population for Crazy in Love was something like 3.74.
Over.
So were our samples a little biased?
Yes.
But were they less biased than your subjective sample?
Yeah.
Right? So it can't eliminate bias, we can only
Reduce
reduce it. And then I think the other side of notes was the label. So remember, you have to label each individual with a unique identifier. They do want you to say 1 to whatever, right? Whatever the maximum option is. So label, then you generate or randomize in unique numbers from blank to blank. I just try to merge the two. Generate, and then you select. And we're going to get more practice with that. All right. So let's go over to check your understanding. So, sign a local business says, rate us 5 stars on Google and get a $10 gift card. The store manager uses the ratings to learn how people in the community feel about the business. What type of sample did the manager obtain?
Bias?
Yeah.
Response.
So it was, but, I mean, there's response in there, but we're not talking about the types of bias. Yeah, there's what type of sample? Volunteer, right? They chose whether they responded or not. Volunteer sample. Which, by the way, there is a type of bias associated with that. Any guesses what the name of it is?
Voluntary bias.
Voluntary response bias. Yeah. Makes sense, right? Volunteer samples are going to have volunteer response bias. Explain why this sampling method is biased.
It is biased because it is likely for people to give good rating because of the reward gift card.
Yeah, guys, I want $10. So I'm not going to give them a 4-star, I'm going to give them a 5-star, right? So people are influenced to rate well for a gift card. In general, how reliable do you think online ratings are?
Not very.
Not really.
Why not?
Well, no.
Yeah. So little kids like to rate 0 stars. Usually, who's going to go online and rate a restaurant or something like that?
Older Americans.
The people who are a fan of the restaurant.
Gets a reward or anything.
There's 2 options. Either they're already a fan of the restaurant, or
They absolutely dislike it.
they hate it. Do we get the middle ground really at all? No. And so like, you gotta be aware that like personally, there's a place called Rolf's in downtown Tuscaloosa. Absolutely love it. It's a German restaurant. Fantastic time. But I also personally know the owners, so that makes my experience better, right? So if I went in and rated them, is my rating really unbiased? No, like I have an influence there. But then the other side of it is like people have one bad experience and like trash them. I think I saw a stupid meme recently where this woman was raging about Outback maybe, and how Outback didn't give them her bloomin' onion and gave them a 1 star and was like pissed about it. Yeah, but then like she updated it later, literally a couple weeks later, and her husband ate the bloomin' onion on the way home, and so she was like, my bad, and put a 5-star, right? Like either really pissed or really happy. That's when you respond, right? So yeah. Manager finds that 92% of customers rate the business with 5 stars. Is 92% likely to be greater than or less than the percent of all people in the community who truly believe the business deserves 5 stars?
Greater.
That's great. Okay, so hear me clearly on this, and the reason I'm bringing this up is this is something that's become relevant on the AP exam the last 2 years. If they ask you how a study design is biased, You need to indicate, hey, it was a volunteer response bias, but then you also need to indicate how is this sample probably different from the population, right? This sample, did we say over or underestimates?
Over.
Probably overestimates the true percentage and then, by the way, we always need to have what with our stuff? Do you have your notebook with this stuff? Okay, do you want to get out? Just trying to. Yeah, front and back. What do we need to always include in anything in statistics that don't have yet?
Numbers.
Not always, actually. There's something with a C though, that those numbers go with.
Constant.
Not constant.
Concept.
Context, right. Did I have my context in here?
No.
No, that's super generic. Sample probably overestimates the true percentage of customers who would give 5 stars. This is actually one of the things I know is an AP exam tip that kids did not write down last year on the Ferrer model. You need to write about, it's an AP exam tip, that when they ask how is this sample biased, you need to indicate is that sample probably going to overestimate or underestimate that true percentage.
And then give your context.
And always have context, yes. Yep. That is another thing. There's been a couple of AP exam questions where if you didn't have context, then you actually got dropped on the essentially or partially correct. Yes, Andrew.
You don't do the right words like probably and maybe on the actual exam.
Honestly, I'm glad you asked that. If you were to say that it definitively is, that's something you don't actually know. Statistics lives in a world of gray where this is what we believe to be true. True math, we can prove things. In statistics, you can't. Yeah. So in statistics, this is what we believe. There is concluding evidence for this, but you actually never prove anything in AP stats or in statistics. It's just based on probability, what we think is likely to happen. So yes, at the end of the day, probably is definitely a word you want in there. Yeah, we don't know for sure. Maybe this business is fantastic. Maybe some people were just pissed because they felt like their votes were getting bought, and so they said, screw you, I'm putting a 4-star or 1-star, but it's probably overestimated. All right. Number 2, to help reduce bias, the manager decides to survey the next 10 customers that make a purchase. What type of sample did the manager obtain?
Convenience.
I would say that's very convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, easy to get that data. Why is this sampling method biased? Brandon, what you think?
Because it is biased because it is a, I just said convenience sample, it is inclined towards certain just regulated group instead of a whole population.
Yeah, but like, why would this be biased in that regard? Like, what do we want to know about? What population are we concerned or are we interested by?
All customers.
All customers, right?
Right.
Really like all people who would give this a 5-star rating. So not just all customers, but all people who could be a customer, a 5-star rating, right? So why is this biased? Remember, we need to think about how is it actually biased, but also is it going to over or underestimate? Sorry, you had your hand up first.
Because they're already going and they're ready to eat.
Okay, so they're already going, right? So what does that probably mean?
They enjoy it.
They're already going, so they probably like the restaurant, right? Oh,
It doesn't represent the whole population.
so that's not everybody, is it?
It's only
Who are we
a
missing?
The people
The people that
Yeah,
negative.
people who refuse.
Negative.
Yeah, the people who don't like the restaurant, the people who refuse to eat there. So could that affect our data?
Yes.
Yes. So like, that's what we want to recognize. So not just, hey, it's convenient, it's easy, but why is that easy sample going to affect my results? So one, right, these people are already there. already there, so they probably like the restaurant. I don't know about you, but I usually avoid restaurants that I don't like.
True.
Like, you will never catch me camping out at a taco casa. Sorry, not sorry.
I don't like you.
So, these people are already there, so they probably like the restaurant too. And this is what you need to think about. How are the people different that we don't collect from? Those not there probably, or could dislike the restaurant. Bless you. So would our proportion over or underestimate the people, the true proportion? Say, so remember, if we don't get the bad reviews, our reviews are going to be too high. So what we collect would be overestimating, right? Those on there could dislike the restaurant, so this proportion would overestimate. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to put this. 'Cause I ain't got the time. We got to keep moving. That's not how you spell context. Okay. Always put the context in there. Overestimate what? The true proportion of customers who would give a 5-star rating. You see why I just put context though? Don't you dare on the AP exam or on a test put context. Put the actual context. You have on average 13 minutes per free response question to answer the question. You have the time to write out what the context is.
Is this written or is it online?
So the multiple choice is online,
Okay.
and then the free response is written.
Great. Partners.
So how could the manager avoid the bias described in question 2?
Find a way to randomly, just pick random, find a,
Kind of online example that would take in both people who enjoy the restaurant and people who eat the restaurant.
Isn't that
Yeah,
military?
and so I'll point this out, even with the ones that y'all are saying. So one, avoiding this sample, putting the survey online would get more people than just those who come to the restaurant, but what's the issue with putting it online?
People have to volunteer.
Volunteer response bias, right? Okay, what's the problem with just walking outside the restaurant?
You get to choose.
Convenient.
It still could be convenient, it still could be subjective, right? You're still picking people. Well, what do you have to truly reduce the bias?
Random.
Random. That's not necessarily going to be easy. So what could he do?
Like every third
Just
person.
knock on people's door, then ask
Possibly
them
put.
Not be on people's doors?
Like put like a gigantic board outside the restaurant to, put stickers on.
Still got to be there though at the restaurant or near the restaurant.
That's like a shopping mall or something.
Maybe. Do what? Okay, so maybe go to another restaurant. How about, which I know this is bizarre because who uses these days, but a phone book, randomly generate numbers and select the people associated with that number. Probably what they legitimately do with polling is they generate random numbers and just ensure that person lives in the area, right? So you can put anything here for number 3 that would reduce that bias, but what I would definitely want to keep in mind is you have to have some element of randomness. All right, what questions do you have before we continue? Yes.
So the context of this, in this problem would be the rating of rating of this
Yeah.
manager's result.
Right. The proportion of people who would give the restaurant a 5-star rating. Yes.
For our randomized sample, are we looking for 10 people as well? Or it could be any?
Don't sweat that detail.
I feel like the sample is it's
So I'll say this, we're going to learn how we can actually collect a sample of 10 people and make a really good inference. 10 is small, I agree, but I will say this. If you collect 10 pieces of data that you do good study design conclusion or good study design with, then you can collect good data. If you collect data from 100 people, but it's a crappy method, then it doesn't matter how many you collect, right? So the way you collect the data matters, okay? So I would focus on that and recognize that the way you collect the data is really what matters the most. We'll talk after,
Lunch.
in October, we'll talk more about, yeah, in October and later, we'll talk more about how many you should collect data from. Yes.
So, if, like, realistically, is there ever, like, a definitive, the sample size of this? You know what I mean?
There is never a definitive, this is what the sample size should be. We will study what is called a margin of error. If you ever look at polling, they always talk about a margin of error. What will frequently happen is we'll say, hey, we want to reduce the margin of error to this width, and we will collect a sample based on how wide we want the interval. But don't sweat that. There's not a true correct answer. All right, really quickly, target, I just want to point this out. We are going to be looking at the different types of sampling methods. So we are going to, we already talked about sampling with versus without. I will point out, typically, we sample without replacement. We will talk about later when you can sample with replacement, but typically it's without replacement, meaning we don't use the same individual more than once. We're about to talk about what's called stratified random sampling, cluster sampling, systematic random sampling, convenient sampling. Later we'll get into this idea of bias. So this, I can identify the different types of sampling methods when given a description of a study and explain why a sampling method is or is not appropriate for a given situation. That's what we're going to be heavily talking about. And then also describing a method for sampling that includes some random chance. So keep those terms in mind. These skills are what we're trying to identify right now. And then, did we talk about what makes a question statistical last week?
No.
Oh. Let me think on how I want to address that. That's important though. I'm going to talk about these things later. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, we'll talk more about those. That's not coming up with this. Okay. So how much do fans love Taylor Swift? This is 4.2. It's the next lesson in the little packet. So if you go to after the 4.1 homework, which again I suggest doing, the solutions are online. So Taylor Swift wants to find out how much fans enjoy the Eras Tour shows. She will ask fans from 1 to 100, where 100 is the most. How much did you enjoy the concert? The VIP section she wants to survey has 50 seats. First off, right away, what's the problem? Yeah, so do I really know about all the people who, no. But the VIP section, one, I'll be honest, like I have friends who paid to go to Taylor Swift. I could not fathom spending that much, and if you could do it, good on you. But she was spending like $1,200 to go to a concert, and I'm like, I wanted to vomit. I can't do it. That's for a Taylor Swift. Emerson's like, I've done it. Dog, I don't know how you do that. It was like, oh, all right, anyway, good for you. I'm glad you got to go. That's awesome. All right, so she wants to survey those 50 seats, 5 rows, 10 columns. The stage runs along the northern edge of the venue where Taylor's pictured, which, by the way, Serena saw the picture of that and was like, who's that pregnant lady? And Peter goes, he looks at it and he's like, that's Taylor Swift. She's like, no, she's holding her belly. And I'm like, oh, Serena, you're adorable. Anyway, so she wants to take a sample of 10 fans. So, take a simple random sample of 10 fans. Explain the steps. So we're going to practice explaining the steps here. And then method 2, randomly choose 2 fans from each horizontal row. And method 3, randomly choose 1 fan from each vertical column. Okay? So what you need to remember is that what are we going to have to use in order to collect a random sample? A random number generator, right?
We can use our calculator.
Yes. Yes, we're using a calculator. So I had to get it earlier. So you need to do a simple random sample of 10 fans. You need to randomly choose 2 fans from each horizontal row. Now I see a lot of people already picking up the calculator, which means you've done messed up. Can't start with the calculator. You're forgetting something.
Oh, you got a number.
Oh, that's right. What's step 1?
Assign a number.
So we got to label each individual, right? And if you don't wanna number all 1 through 50, I get that, if you wanna just put 1 and then what the last number in that row is, and then what the next number's like, cause this would be a 1, right? Then what would be over here? 10.
11, 20.
So, now I would probably fill it in to make my life easy. I will point this out, do you need to go 1 through 50 in method 2?
No,
Why not?
because you're going to the horizontal.
So you're looking horizontally, so can I just use that each time,
Yes.
right? So keep that in mind. All right, let's support each other in being successful in randomly sampling our 10 fans. Put an X over the box that you generate. Does that make sense? All right, so let me know if you have questions. I think that's all I need you to do. Oh, and then try to answer number 4. We'll get to the rest of this later. So answer numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure you actually explain the steps for number 1. Now, remember on the bottom ones? This case.
Taylor Swift.
So label the Taylor Swift fans or the seats. What? How are we going to label them? 1 through 50. So here's what you need to be aware. So label the fans, bless you, or seats 1 to 50 with a unique number. It's again one of those things where you're like, well, duh, I don't want to repeat, but the AP exam is going to want you to clarify that. So label the fans or seats 1 to 50 with a unique number. What next?
Using an
Generate,
interpreter to generate number generator.
So generate what?
generate random numbers,
1 to
10 random numbers.
We need that word unique. 10 unique numbers using a what?
Random number.
And so I will say that if you indicate you're using a random number generator, you don't have to say random numbers. You're generating 10 unique numbers using a random number generator, they're random numbers. So generate 10 unique numbers using a random number generator, then what?
Select the number, the random number.
So select the,
Unique
well, you've already got the unique numbers.
Select the corresponding.
So select the seats or the fans. Yeah, select the, yeah, let's just be more clear, seats with corresponding to those numbers. That's it, okay? Now, I will point this out. I was talking about this, I think with Star, maybe with somebody else. But personally, if I was doing method 2 and method 3, and I pointed this out to everybody. Method 2, I would just go 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Method 3, I would do 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. And the only way that your description process would change for number 2, notice it doesn't ask for that, but number 2, I would label the fans in the first row 1 to 10 with a unique number. I would generate 2 unique numbers using a random number generator. Select the seats corresponding to those numbers, and then I would make one more note, repeat for each row. Down here, repeat for each column. That way I don't have to talk about 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. Just repeat for each row. Yeah, does that make sense? All right, so does everybody have their seats selected or close to selected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I do see 1 or 2 still working a little bit. If you want to make a note or so while we have a couple more, but 40 more seconds, and then we're going to talk about number 4. So like using method 2 or 3 versus number 1, 100%. And talk about why in just a second. We'll see why in a second. All right, number 4. Which method do you think will give the best estimate for the average enjoyment and why? So, by the way, you don't have to have the right answer. We're going to see why in a second. Just any predictions?
But would these all be exactly the same, since they're all just 1/5 of each of the seats?
Interesting idea. So Charlie's idea is, wouldn't they all be the same, because you're just picking 1/5 of all the seats? Any other ideas?
Wouldn't go 1 through 50, because like, there's a bigger chance of people on the same column getting selected, and when you do it by row, or the other way around, so column.
So there is a greater chance of like the same row being selected multiple times, or same column being selected multiple times if you go by row, right? So now we're starting to see some things. Any other ideas? Okay. Again, these are just predictions. Think about what your prediction is, and we're going to start in just a second. You don't have to write it down, but just think about it. So if you look at the back side of this, now it's time for the actual data. For each of your samples on the previous page, calculate the average enjoyment. So this is their enjoyment from 1 to 100. Find the average level of enjoyment for your 10 selected people. Now, to help you get started or remember some things, I want you to get your calculator, and so we should be looking at a calculator like this. So pause for a second, star, about to make your life easy, okay? Calculator page. Obviously, you can just add all 10 up and then divide by 10, right? Does anyone remember something I showed you last week though to make your life easier? Not yet. There was a list in spreadsheets page, wasn't there? So everybody hit Control and then Doc and add a list in spreadsheets page. Okay? And so what I would do if I were you quickly is go up here to the top. This is where we can label or create variables. SRS is our first one. What do I mean by SRS again? Simple random sample, okay? We'll talk about literally what that means in a second, but simple random sample. And then I'm going to go row, and then I'm going to go column. Okay? So labeling those different variables. Once you put your data in, what do you go to after that to calculate your mean and stuff? Someone said something about a really cool button.
Menu button.
So remember, once you have your data in, you'll want to go to menu. You'll want to go to statistics, stat calculations, and one variable stat statistics, right? So again, help each other, and I will still be coming around. But put your 10 data points in for each of those columns, okay? So yeah, start on the first data point. Okay. So one thing I will point out is, if you want, this might help. Why don't one of you, actually no, I'm gonna make your life easier. All right, hopefully that makes your job easier so you can look at the front side and look at the data up here at the same time and put that data into each of those columns. Right, so the third, find the corresponding data up there and put it into those columns, okay?
Do a spreadsheet. And then,
Yes.
like, name
Um,
it simple.
Okay, whenever I do my, it asks for this,
Yeah,
and then it's gonna.
just do one list for now. But you haven't put your data in.
Oh.
So wait,
Yeah, dude, how are you gonna do statistical calculations if you don't even have any data? Hit escape. Okay, go to the simple random sample, that was this first one. So find the fifth up there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 95, right? Yes, thank you, Leah. So yeah, put that data in, okay?
like, because method one, we're just simple random sample.
Oh, so you're in the scratch pad. So hit escape, go to a document, yep.
Yes.
And then do number 4, list of spreadsheets, yep.
Yeah, I mean, for the.
So you really need to see this, what you circled, right? And then find the corresponding data up there.
Yeah.
Like you see what I mean, like, my first one was 5.
Have you put all your data in yet? How are you gonna do calculations unless you have
Yeah,
data?
now I go to 7. Okay.
So, remember,
Oh, adding this.
okay, so that's based on these?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, put those data points in and then you can do calculations. Yeah, so guys, put the enjoyment scores in there, not the identifiers. We're not averaging identifiers. We're averaging,
Like all the ones you have marked down on here, like correspond with that up there. So like for, on mine, on seat number 9, you would go to that same spot that's up there. So seat number 9 enjoyed like a 95. Yeah, and you just put that in there.
so like for you, seat number 3, and that's what, if you want to turn your desk, you can see the data up there. So seat number 3 was at 90 for their score. Does that make sense? Yep. What did you notice?
Or even side by side or something like that.
I know, right? Crazy, if I paid that amount of money, I would need to enjoy it a ton to get my enjoyment score that high, you know what I mean? It's like $1,200 is a lot of money for 4 hours or whatever it
Sure,
is.
we'll like that one too.
I think the most I've ever paid was like 200, and it's just because my wife really loves Paramore.
Wake me up inside.
Oh, the wrong band.
That's not. Definitely not Paramore, bro. Anyways. Yes.
How are you already?
I mean, those are 2 different identifiers, right? So 93 and then 84 is the next one. Because you still should have 8, or you should have 10 data points. What? Sound good? What you got?
All the people at the top rows have like it so much better than the ones on the bottom.
So hit menu. Okay, go to
Tennis
for
show column
statistics.
is the tennis show for
Stat
right there.
calculations.
That means they have like a front row view.
1 variable statistics, because we're just dealing with 1 variable. Just do
Girl,
1 list
if
at a
I
time,
did that
is what I would
website
do.
and
So
I
I just keep
enjoyed
it
it
at
at
1 and hit enter.
63%,
That way.
Or okay, yeah.
I would do that.
And now, so the beauty is, now you can go and click that variable. So hit enter. There you go, just hit enter, you're good. Hey, really quickly, I just realized I should show this. I do want to point out, one of the big reasons why I had to label these columns is when you now go to stat calculations, 1 variable stats, if you click on this arrow to the right, notice those variables pop up. So you want to label your data sets so that it pops up as a variable like that. You can also access variables by hitting the VAR button right here, and the variables will pop up as well. But that's why I had to do that. Okay. Ask if you're having trouble, but we should be getting close to the point where we have all of our data sets in and calculating. No!
Oh, no, columns is method 3.
Columns is method 3, correct. Yes.
I got a bunch of tabs. I don't know why.
Oh, I'm sorry to ask you.
Hold on 1 second.
So,
Okay.
what happened to no, you do, you do
What'd you put?
the actual method.
Whenever you're
And
doing
then you go statistics, stat calculations, 1 variable.
And then we're gonna put down.
And then you want
the, like,
SRS.
stat calculations, 1
Now, I will say this, I'm not gonna put it
Like
in
y'all did
P, because that's where I have
just
for the
row,
Beyonce thing.
and then C is where I have column, so I'm gonna start this in
It's kinda like
D.
that.
For this, it'll ask you which column, and you can choose which one.
Wait, hold on.
You want average, so you have to do 3 times.
Oh, that's why.
And-
Do you have those values saved somewhere? And what is it? Yeah. Oh, probably. Wait, did anyone have a 14? I did. Was that supposed to be a 74?
It's 88.
Yep, 14 right there. Was that the identifier? Yeah. So look for that again.
49.
4.
Here's this column there. Because it won't let you use a different variable. Name it SRS2 and type those in. But it's either probably either 74 or an identifier.
Okay, so for this one, I got which one is the average?
You need to generate another number. You have to remember, we said generate
No, I
10
don't,
unique numbers.
Well, I got mine all at the same time.
Right, so then generate another number.
That's where.
Well,
It's done, but I don't know how to read the same, it's mute, right? Median.
Yeah.
Generate another number.
Instead of that one.
Have you already used 40?
How do I go back?
Wait,
Wait a second.
were these-
So right here, you see that page?
It's the X with a line on it, so control.
Were the numbers from method 3 like this?
Oh, there you go. What's up?
Was that-
Statistics.
I don't know if it's
One stack calculations.
repeat.
Yeah, it can repeat on those.
On that one?
Oh. Just enter.
It says
And then
really
you
like
use
it's
the
used
right,
Santa.
and then you want your symbol.
Oh, is that okay?
And then, yeah,
And
column.
then what's the one?
Go ahead and put that dot up there. Hold on 1 second, Kenzie. Hey, once you have your data, grab some dots, put your data up here.
I thought,
Got rid of my.
Alright, Charlie, I'll be there in a second as well.
it shows how.
Yeah, so I have your serial. Phoebe, really quickly right here. So once you have your data, so what's the button that lets me do cool prep? Okay, what am I gonna do there?
I'm sorry.
Statistics, stack calculations. One variable, we only have
Now
one
that I
variable.
have everything.
We have 3 columns, but they're all the same
So-
variable, right? So one
So,
variable
here,
statistics.
what,
You can technically do all 3 at the same time.
so this one is the.
That's the average for the
Yeah, I'm not
first
gonna show you.
one. It's a,
So you can do all 3 at
that
once.
was, so that's
Usually I would
the
just say
average
do one at a
column.
time.
Oh my
But
gosh.
notice it's actually
Star.
the first
This
list,
is labeled to get
which
from
is
Sorry.
summary example,
the order of
Then-
which one I did.
column, then row.
I missed all
And we're
this
gonna
stuff.
start putting our data, our statistics in row T, or in column T. So notice, there's my mean, and so there's for the simple random sample, there's for my column, and there's for my row. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do the other ones as well.
Oh,
But I will point out, like, it's a little confusing, so you have to really know where you're putting stuff. That's why I usually just do one list at a time. So you're like, okay, this is my data for this one piece. Yeah, hit escape.
I'm still putting my levels.
Do you want us to write the exact numbers, like above
No.
the dots?
It's just not awful.
Yeah, I've got it.
75.
Why are
You're good.
you, why are you so bad?
So- Yeah, so that, oh yeah, sorry, you wanted to talk about X bar is mean though. And so that's your mean.
Oh, wait, I forgot the one.
And then your, yeah, hey guys, please notice SRS at the top is your simple random sample, stratified by row is the second dot plot. The third dot plot is stratified by
I'm
column.
so sorry.
Yeah, so you have your 3, so that's your SRS, simple random sample.
You went
Yes,
ahead and
perfect.
did,
That's
but
fine.
I'm just gonna do one.
Okay,
So I'm gonna see what
yes, Charlie, sorry, my bad, I totally forgot to come back over. Yes, sir.
do.
So there's 2 things you can do. I feel like you would be comfortable with doing this. So you can do one list at a time. Or if you're feeling more comfortable, you can do all 3 lists. And then you would do whatever order you want to do. Let's go simple random sample. We'll go row. And then we'll go column. And then we're going to put our results in column D because we already have stuff in A, B, and C. Enter. So notice, there's my mean simple random sample, then did row, then did column. Yeah, so you can do it one at a time, or you can do all 3 at the same time.
How do I mark it on here?
You should not have it. For what? Which one?
And then
That's
that's for.
They're all the way
Oh,
down.
that's the average for,
Yeah.
SRS.
Yeah.
Is that for
Oh, you have
row?
the one, you have the same
Yeah,
one.
no, that's not for row, that's for SRS.
No,
What
there's
you
no.
said,
Yeah, I
that's
figured
you
it
said
out. I almost
column
had
and
the
then row,
entire.
so I think this is the column one.
I want to see the data. Where's the?
I don't want the entire.
Yeah, I think column he looked at.
What did you do?
I just repeated it on that.
not biased.
Glad that there's two people.
Well, I don't even, hold up. I'm looking here. So I see the number 5, 8, 31, 19. You can't use 5 again. Didn't do it. Okay. 2,
Emerson, are you for real?
18, 16, 17. That's wild.
What?
So, yeah, just mark it off to the side. I had it high enough on there, but yeah, go for it.
Is this, do we have like the same averages?
That, my guess is that you put the same variable in. I mean, because it's quite possible, so let's look. Where's that, contest? That calculation.
Do you need it?
What, no, like, I'm not sure.
75.
Maybe for-
Alright,
Okay.
so SRS,
After that,
make sure you have then row, then column.
School shirt.
What's my road? Okay,
So
road.
just gonna delete some
Yeah,
data.
go to stack.
What is that triangle called? Just the one that showed?
Yeah, apparently,
Then 81.
that's wild.
Yes, I'm not that.
So it's possible. Notice, yeah, so there's different standard deviations, but same
Is
average,
that like,
totally possible.
what is pink for?
So
It
when you
happens.
do
Sorry,
it,
my
like,
bad.
what is the D?
Is that like the logo?
Oh, so no, it's not supposed to be column D. That's where it starts putting, yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
where it starts
Super
putting the
neat.
data.
My calculation stop.
Dude. Yeah. I told you this last time I thought, you can't be inside of that, rectangle, you gotta hit enter. Now it'll work.
Wait, let's see.
Yes.
Hey, so, like, my drink.
So is this right here the averages?
No,
Oh.
that's here.
And the whole thing over there.
There's your-
See, the water,
Yeah.
it's just the water. I didn't know.
Yeah, we've got 90.
Which one do you want
Is it regular water or is it
Oh.
No, it just smells weird. I gotta wash it.
Okay. Who has not gotten their data up yet?
Me.
Okay, we gotta get going. I'm about to start talking about it.
Come on, chop, chop.
These are no.
Yep.
I'm trying to get my stats.
Or statistics, yeah. Stat calculations, one variable. Alright, I'm gonna make our, just speed things up a little bit. I'm gonna do all 3 lists at once, so hit enter. Usually just do one, but we're gonna put.
Yes.
Because it
Emerson, you did SRS, right?
You're getting, let me see what you're doing.
It's-
So it's still row and
Everything
column.
with an S, everything with an S.
SRS.
Oh,
I have it.
Yeah, I just added an S.
For-
Wait, yeah, you know that.
You can't do that.
She turns off her lights, and it's like,
This is like 76.
Everything with an S.
and when I fall asleep, she can always stand up. So I learned how to sleep without using my hands.
Oh, no, it's just rows.
I have a foot.
Oh, I got you. But it is columns.
Cause I
I think it's slow. But it's fast and slow at the same time. I promise you, if I had this drawhorn, third block, I'd finish with that customer.
So there's SRS, there's rows, there's your column.
This year?
Okay, let's get that data
I
up.
can.
Alright, I think that camera just rolled that whole time. Sorry for whoever's watching it. Just skip through everything you just saw, but you would just now be seeing this. Okay, so let's look up here. Let's look at this data. So based on these different options, are all random sampling methods created equal?
No.
No. Okay? Notice, where are all of them centered? Around what level of enjoyment?
75.
70 to 80? All the way?
75.
Are they all centered at 75? I need to find my tape. I wouldn't say 75 to 80. I mean,
Between 70 to 60. Wow. What is
so
that?
let me clarify something. When I say centered, I'm looking for roughly one data value that
Oh.
might be the mean of that data.
70.
Like 79.
77.
79?
No, slowly.
I'd say
75.
77, well, 77-ish?
77.
Okay, okay. when I look at the simple random sample, where is it centered?
76?
70. I mean, I'll say this, and this one's weird, and we're gonna talk more about this later. Star got this 90 over here. What's that gonna do to our average? It's gonna pull it to the right, yeah. Now, that's something to be aware of, but maybe if I ignore that data point, maybe right around the same. In fact, even with that data point, maybe right here around 77 or so. Okay. What does the center of stratifying by the column look like? It might be so all over the place, but
Oh,
maybe
and
79 or so right here.
Yeah.
So I want to point this out. Do they all roughly have the same measure of center?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, why do they all have the same measure of center?
Because it
There's only a few numbers to choose
The range isn't as wide.
because
You're missing the question I'm asking. Keep thinking.
Can you say it over?
because we went from 50 to like to like 10.
Really?
5 people in the front that, right?
Even though we used different methods to choose it, it was still 10 of it in the one inside the box if we call it.
I hear you
box.
say. Let me rephrase the question. If I were to have just picked those seats on my own, do you think I would have still been centered around that 77 to 78 range? Probably not. Why not? Why is this centered around that 77 to 78 range, but if I picked it, wouldn't have been?
Because it's
Okay,
random.
have you ever got randomly, you have like, you have like the 90s and 100s up the top, so
Okay.
like really low scores on the bottom, so if you
Okay.
had a preference, pick the top.
So
Average.
hold on to that, because that's what we're going to come to. There's another word that I heard some people saying that I want us to hit on. Why are these all centered around that 77 to 78 range? Or centered?
Because it's reduced
It-
by.
Because there was randomness, because there was no what? There was no bias, right? Like if I were to pick, would there be bias involved?
Yeah.
100%, right? But so why does all of these have roughly the same center? Well, because we used randomization, which reduced our bias. Okay, so the randomness, so randomization reduced bias. That's huge. We got to recognize that. Randomization reduced bias. But here's what I got to ask. Looking at our data, which of those random sampling methods would you have chosen?
Column.
Why by column?
Probably
the row.
the row because it's all centered in like a range.
This row has a lot less spread to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's more precise. They all have the same accuracy. They all have the same accuracy. They're right around the same center. But the stratification by row, and I'm going to explain what that is in a second. Stratification by row was more precise. So what do we mean by accurate versus precise?
Accurate is closer to an answer, and precise is how many similar answers you.
So I will say accurate doesn't even have to be close to the answer. Accurate just means it is centered around the answer. Accurate means it's centered around the answer. They're all centered around the true mean enjoyment. But precise means it has a smaller spread. There, all the data points are closer together. So if we have a precise distribution, very small spread, but it's super inaccurate, like it was way over here, would that be good data? No. It needs to be accurate, unbiased. But we also want the least amount of spread. Okay? Now, Charlie, what did you notice about why this reduced spread, even if you didn't realize why it was reducing spread? What were you talking about earlier when...
As up there at the top, they're mostly like extremely pleasant scores. Lowest you're getting is like high 80s. Whereas at the bottom down there, it's extremely low, down to like 63.
So,
Was trying to find by column, there's a chance you miss one of those rows. Like for example, in mine, at polling, I didn't get anything for from the bottom 5, meaning I had no data for some of those extremely low scores. Well, with the stratified by row, I got everything from each. Like I had a little bit of data from each row, right? So I had like the range
So what we're seeing here is that these scores were very similar to each other, correct? A term we use in statistics for that is they were fairly homogeneous. These scores were very similar to each other. That means homogeneous. We've heard that term before, right? In science? Okay. Homogeneous, fairly similar. So when you have fairly homogeneous groups, randomly generate in individuals from each group. This is probably what I would put on that quick notes on the next one really quickly. But I want to point this out. Earlier, Charlie was saying at the very beginning that we're going to get 10 no matter what. We're going to pick roughly a fifth of them, right? But, and so that's true, and we use randomness, so were they all pretty accurate? But when there are groups, and I should also say this, when you have fairly homogeneous groups that are different from each other, randomly generate in individuals from each group. That's going to reduce your spread and give us a more precise estimate. So like another example where you might want to use this stratifying by a group is, let's say I want to know how much doctors make on average. Well, do neurosurgeons make a different amount of money than pediatricians versus OR doctors versus whatever? So I might want to look at pediatricians versus neuroscientists or neurologists versus whatever. If I was talking about engineers, right? Do different engineers make different amounts of money? So I might want to look at environmental engineers versus mechanical engineers versus whatever. So those are what you want to consider. If there are groups that are fairly homogeneous, civil engineers, but they are different from each other, mechanical engineers, you want to stratify because are they going to have the same amount of accuracy?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Same accuracy, but it reduced the spread, made it more precise, okay? We are literally out of time. I apologize. I didn't plan on getting through the next lesson. We're going to have to pick it up tomorrow. I will make sure we do the quick notes. Check out the Check Your Understanding tonight. Maybe go ahead and start looking. Did I tell y'all that AP Classroom has not been set up for us yet? Okay. So I will, I already emailed Mr. Armstrong and Ms. Jemison to try to get that fixed. Have a good rest of your day. See y'all tomorrow. I don't have one because I had to go to lunch meeting, but I will have one for you tomorrow. Yeah. And I'll get you the rest of the packet as well.
I don't think we have to.
My backpack was so great.
How was your
So great.
This thing is not zipping. Come on. Oh!
Emerson, I'm gonna kill you. And I hope this thing's rolling, so it can still know that Emerson, you were on my hip. Oh my gosh!
This is also designed to help you walk in.
close side? I gotta
So
go.
go ahead and do this. I promise you, the students who trust me do it, it helps build a way stronger understanding.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for asking that question. Hey, did someone forget to get a textbook? Come on, dude. You're good. Someone's also got, Ryan, is that your textbook on the ground?
Yeah, it's mine. Yeah, my bad. Is it okay to put quick notes and elsewhere because I want to make like a my